Today in Campers Crusades for our nutrition course by yours truly, Miss Emily. I'm going to start off this class actually with a question. What do you, trees, and hamster all have in common? Give you a few seconds to think. Water. You are all living things and you need water in order to survive, whether it's a fountain, a cup, a fridge, a cloud, a bottle attached to the side of a cage, you all need water. With me today, I have a few friends. This is my succulent. Now, succulents, they are a kind of plant that actually don't need to be watered very often. If you can see these plants, these leaves, they're very thick, and that's where they hold their water. I watered this guy whenever I see that the soil is dry, and you just soak it, and then there's also this little hole at the bottom of the pot. All succulents should be in a pot with a hole that's drainable, because they do get their soil drenched, and then you're supposed to let it dry out completely, and then you re-drench it. So I usually do this about every other week, sometimes 2 weeks. I have multiple succulent plants. This one is just the cutest. He's new. I've only had him for 3 weeks. But yeah, succulents are very easy to take care of, especially if you are very forgetful like me when it comes to watering. My next little friend I have is my African fat-tailed gecko. Now, he is from Africa, but he was born and raised in captivity. He is a wild type African fat-tailed gecko, which means his coloring is available in the wild. So he has two sides of his tank. It's dry. It's completely dry. But one side is considered his hot side with his heat lamp, and then the other side is his colder side that is I mist every day, multiple times actually. So he has a water dish, but I never see him drink from it. Rarely I will see him sticking on his tongue and drinking from the air whenever I mist his tank. But for the most part, he never physically drinks it. But I know that at some point he is getting his water. He's a little chubby right now because he ate yesterday. He doesn't eat every day. He's not supposed to. But he is very soft. He's not crusty like some. And he does go through a molt. I don't think he likes the screen. He's backing up. And water and moisture is it's very important for him, for his species. He has molts. He goes through molts, which is what snakes do. They will shed their outer skin. And moisture is very important for shedding the skin like that, because if there's not enough humidity, then they will have trouble getting rid of that top layer of skin. So yeah, this little guy, he's my best friend. I've had him since I was 10 years old. So I've had him for over half of my life. And I will probably have him for another 10 years. Maybe 5. They usually live between 15 and 20 years. But water is important to more than just us. It's important to plants, it's important to other wildlife, and we all need it to survive. Without water, your body would not function properly. So water takes up more than half of your body weight, and therefore you cannot live more than a few days without it. Your body has a lot of important jobs that require water. For instance, your blood, it has blood cells, but then it also has a liquid component, which allows your cells to travel to other parts of your body. And without oxygen that your cells take to your body, you would die. But you need water to get the cells moving. It's also a part of your immune system. There's this stuff called lymph, and it's kind of how your immune system functions. It's needed to keep your immune system able to travel, and also allows your immune system to communicate with other parts of your body. Water also helps regulate your own internal temperature. So when you sweat, you're getting rid of water, and it's sitting on the surface, and it's allowing like your skin to cool off. You also need water to digest food, and you also need the water to create digestive juices so that you can digest. It's also needed by each individual cell in your body. Your body doesn't get water only from drinking water. Whenever you drink orange juice, there's water in orange juice. When you drink soda, believe it or not, there is water in soda, and you are getting the water from that. The difference is that water, this is water is like a neutral enrichment. So whenever you get soda, you're also getting all sorts of things with it. And sometimes it has caffeine. If you drink dark sodas, oftentimes there's caffeine. And caffeine found in dark sodas, some teas, coffee, if you drink coffee, though I hope none of you are drinking coffee, it will actually dehydrate you. So you are getting water, but the amount of water that you're losing due to the caffeine, sometimes it does not balance, and you end up losing. So foods contain water too. Fruit contains quite a bit. So do vegetables, like cucumbers. Cucumbers are very, like a high percentage of cucumber is water. If you ever slice a cucumber like into coins, you can see the little middle part where all the seeds are, and it's so liquidy. It's all water. Same with lettuce. Lettuce and leafy greens, a lot of water. Watermelon, you bite into watermelon and you literally have juices dripping water. So celery has a lot of water, and you can even do an experiment to see kind of how the water is traveling up through the stalk. That's a really fun experiment. An experiment that I actually recommend you do so that you can see the importance of water in growing and living things is, if your parents have seeds, you can put one seed in a pot or in your backyard where there's open dirt, and don't water it. And take another seed, the same kind of seed, and plant it at the same time in your backyard or even in the same pot, but only water the one that you've labeled as watering. And you can see that the seed that gets water will grow much faster than the seed with no water, if that even grows. Depends on how much soil you get, how much water is in the soil that you get. And also, if you plant it outside, then there is the chance that the rain water could actually water it. But if you're watering it on days that there's no rain, it still should be growing faster than the plant or seed that's not getting any water besides the natural water from rain. So how much water is enough? I've had way too much in my mouth at one time. You're probably wondering if you're drinking enough water. So there is no magic number, especially when you're growing. Like, you children should be drinking a lot of water because you are active. playing outside and sweating, you need to replenish that fluid. You also depends on your age, size, and the weather. So temperature and humidity actually affect the amount of water you should be drinking. And for me, I try to drink 2 of these. I probably should be drinking 3, but I also know that I don't just drink straight up water sometimes. Sometimes I'm drinking tea, and I actually I have coffee, so I'm getting 2 of these filled with water every day, and then I'm also getting anything else that I'm drinking, whether it's juice, tea, coffee, and then I'm also eating lots of fruits and vegetables. So if you don't have as many fruits and vegetables in your diet, you should be drinking a lot of water to make up for the water that you are not eating. I don't know if you guys have observed a rabbit before, but rabbits don't really drink a lot of water. They get a lot of their water from the fruits and vegetables that they're eating. Koala bears as well. Koala bears get a majority of their water from the eucalyptus they eat. The only time we have seen koalas drinking straight up water is whenever there are forest fires in their natural habitat and they are like sweating and they're parched because they've been breathing in fire and smoke. So that is a lot of ways that's the main way that animals get their water is through their food. My African fat-tailed gecko, like I said before, he gets his water from the environment. Whenever I spray his cage and there's moisture, there's water particles in the air, he sticks out his tongue like this. And he gets water that is falling, the particles that are falling. He also probably gets some water from the foods that he eats. He eats crickets and mealworms, and so they are always live. He does not like dried mealworms or crickets, though a lot of African fat-tails will eat dried insects. He is a very picky African fat-tail, so his food that he's eating is living, and they've had water, and they have water in their bodies, in their systems. So he is getting his water from his food, and he's getting his water from his environment, and I'm pretty sure that he will drink water from his dish if the humidity in his tank is not high enough. So you should be drinking something with every meal that you eat, whether it's water or milk, and you should also be drinking when you're thirsty. But if you are drinking enough water, then you shouldn't need to feel parched. Like, you should not feel the need to drink water. You should kind of be ahead of the game. If you're sick, or if it's really, really warm out, or you're exercising, you also need to drink more water. If you're out in warm weather, playing sports, exercising, again, drink more water. When you drink is also very important. So if you're at sports practice, you're at a game, you're working out, playing hard, you need to make sure that you are drinking water before, during, and after. And whenever you're out with your friends, you need to make sure that you're bringing a water bottle. You can't do your best when you're thinking about your thirst. And you also could become dehydrated. So when your body doesn't have enough water, that's called being dehydrated. And dehydration is something that can keep you from being as fast and as sharp as you used to be. So when you're playing in like a soccer game and you get dehydrated, there's a possibility that you could not be focusing on the game because your brain does not have the ability to process everything that's happening around you at the right speed. A very, very, very bad case of dehydration can actually make you sick, and you could end up actually in a hospital for dehydration. So remember, keep a bottle of water on hand when the weather is warming up, especially in the summer right now. We live in Texas. The sun is very close to us. So you need to make sure that you have access to water constantly, and you also need to make sure that you're taking the precautions and you're drinking water even when you don't feel thirsty, because there is a way to stop yourself from even having that feeling of dehydration. Now that we've gone over the importance of drinking water, especially for people who are living and creatures that are living, I just want to get you sort of like this perspective on the amount of drinkable water that we have. So there's actually a lot of water in our oceans, but it's not drinkable because there's salt in it. And salt will do the opposite of what you want. It'll make you dehydrated. 2% of the water on Earth are frozen. They are in the glaciers of the south and north around the poles. So Antarctica and then up in the Arctic Circle. And less than 2%, about 0.8% water is groundwater. So that means that it is in the soil that is unreachable to us unless we drill to it. And then there's also 0.2% that is found in rivers, lakes, wetlands, and clouds. So the water vapor on Earth. This is all approximate, but think about it. So if 97% is ocean water, undrinkable, 2% is kind of untouchable because it's frozen, and we need that frozen water to provide the environment for the animals living in the North and South Poles. And then there have 0.8% that is groundwater that is basically untouchable as well, because drilling into the earth disturbs the earth. Then that leaves only 0.2% of water all over the earth. 2.2% of water that is accessible to us and every other organism on earth to drink. So that is why water is so important to conserve. There are scientists that are experimenting with ocean water, trying to find ways to purify it. The only problem is that right now, the techniques they're using require a lot of energy, and it's not really financially possible. They're trying to basically take a puddle of ocean water and then have like a big tarp over it, kind of like a bubble, and then they're going to heat up the water so that the water evaporates, because salt won't evaporate into the atmosphere like water will. And so they're going to evaporate the water so that it goes into the atmosphere, and then when it touches the dome, the tarp, it will condense and turn into water droplets that are pure, and then collects, and that will be fresh drinking water. But like I said before, it's not really sustainable to microwave the ocean, and it also will displace any ocean animals. Matter has 3 stages: solid, liquid, and gas. And water is matter, so water's solid stage is ice, water's liquid stage is water, and water's gas stage is water vapor. Now, you know the water life cycle. I'm sure you've heard about it in class. Milo's scratching on his little thing. It's distracting. And so you know, rain will fall, and then it'll interact with the environment, and then a hot day will come, and the rain that had fallen previously will evaporate back into the atmosphere and collect in clouds. And when the clouds get heavy, rain will fall again, and over and over and over again. A majority of that, comes from the ocean. So, like I said before, with the experiment they were working with to try and figure out a way to get the the ocean water drinkable, it's kind of how they got it, is from the regular cycle of the world. Now that we've kind of covered some of the science aspect of water and the qualities of water, I wanted to bring our conversation back to drinking it and the amount of water that you need for your body to function. So, after a while of drinking water, it kind of gets boring. And so that's probably a big struggle for you if you prefer flavor. And so I'm going to share with you a few tips that I have found out over my own experience of drinking water. So first thing that I would encourage you to try and do is to go out and buy a fun cup, especially if there's a straw. Drinking water from a straw is just so much easier than sitting there and gulping it. And you also drink faster when you have a straw. And so drinking with a straw and in a fun cup should and hopefully will make it easier for you to drink water. This is my only cup. I have this Starbucks cup because I love coffee, but I also have a few other cups that I have collected, like Yeti cups and other cups that have like the clear cups that you can see inside, because those are just fun. Another tip for drinking more water is to get flavor packets, because flavor packets, especially if you have a Crystal Light packet that has lower sugar to begin with, it kind of makes it so that all you're doing is drinking fun water, like lemonade, and it's a lot easier to drink it. And I usually do. I will drink one of these with regular water, just fresh water, and then my second time go around, I usually put in some flavor. Another tip is to try and eat as many fruits and vegetables as possible. You could also cut up fruits and some vegetables and put them in water and let it sit overnight, and then you could have naturally flavored water. Some of my favorite combinations is cucumber. Cucumber water to me tastes so good. I just really, really like cucumbers, if you haven't noticed. Another really, really, really good tasting infused water is honeydew. If you cut up some honeydew and put it in the water, it's, to me, very sweet. You can also put lemons and oranges in, and you can make a citrus water. And you could also try and make like a blended slushy. Drinking water in a slushy as well as the ice will also help with hydration. Just make sure with your parents that it's okay to use the blender. The big takeaway on today's lesson about water is that all living things need water for various reasons. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you feel the need for water, you feel the thirst, you should act on that and you should give your body water, because there are consequences to not drinking water, not drinking enough water, and some of those can be very serious. Also, remember when you are playing outside to bring a water bottle with you and to make sure that you are drinking and replenishing fluids when you sweat. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.